Joining us now, Adam Schefter, Chris Mortensen for the very latest around the league. Adam, let's start at the top with that #1 pick. Any chance at all we see the Bengals trade or take someone not named Joe Burrow?
Wendy, in recent weeks, the Miami Dolphins have made attempts to call Cincinnati to see if there was a way to pry loose that #1 overall pick. But no matter how many times the Dolphins called, the answer always was the same. The Bengals were holding on to that #1 overall pick, and they weren't going to trade it, which brings us to this man right here, Joe Burrow, expected to be the #1 overall pick of the Cincinnati Bengals. He's watching the draft at his parents' home in Ohio. His girlfriend's from Cincinnati. There are all sorts of connections. The Dolphins would have loved to have traded for Joe Burrow. It just wasn't in the cards. They couldn't make it happen. The Bengals never even entertained any offers, and so Joe Burrow will wind up going to Cincinnati with the Bengals holding on to that #1 slot in the draft that kicks off on ESPN and ABC tonight at 8 Eastern.
Adam, as you know, the expectation has been that if the Dolphins don't take Tua, then the Chargers at #6 will jump on Tua Tagovailoa. But General Manager Tom Telesco of the Chargers has said very recently that he takes medical history very, very seriously. And there's been some discussions, according to sources, that they could take a position player. Maybe it's a tackle. Maybe it's a key defensive player. And that Tua would then slide. And that would create some drama, obviously, in the draft. We've seen other big-time quarterbacks slide. Aaron Rodgers comes to mind certainly right away. But then is it all of a sudden, is it the Jaguars at 9? Is it a trade up? Are the Raiders interested? Those are possibilities that we certainly are going to be on our toes for. But I will also caution that Tom Telesco is a protege of Bill Polian, Hall of Fame executive from their time together with the Indianapolis Colts. And earlier this week, Bill Polian went on Sirius XM NFL radio and said Tua is too good to pass up. You can pass on him and get fired, or you can take him and be wrong about the medical part and still get fired. And in his mind, Bill Polian's mind, again, Tom Telesco's mentor, you should go ahead and take Tua. Otherwise, maybe we'll be in for a fun ride, Wendy.
Thank you, Mort. The double-edged sword for sure. We'll turn now to Mel Kiper. And Mel, you've had Burrow #1 the entire time. Is he the best #1 pick we've seen in recent history?
I'll tell you, the transformation was historical, Wendy. It took a lot of convincing to move him up from 6th round back in August to #1 overall. Are you kidding me? This has never happened before. And I think when you looked at him back in September, he kept waiting for the stumble and for the problems to arise and the bad games. They never happened. He beat 7 teams that were combined 77-18. That includes those 7 losses to LSU. 77-11 without LSU were the teams that he beat. He was over 71% in every game, Wendy. He made it easy for everybody to have him at #1 overall to the Cincinnati Bengals.
All right, Mel, listen, it's the day of the draft, so this is it, the final prospect rankings. But before we show you, we'll go to Rex Ryan. Rex, you with us?
Yes, I am, and I tell you what, Joe Burrow has to be a Cincinnati Bengal. Anybody that heard that Heisman speech, it's like, you're not trading this guy. If you are, you better move, because you're going to move. You're going to get fired the next day. This is a slam dunk pick. And when I watch the tape, Wendy, I mean, I'm telling you, it sounds crazy. But this is Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady. So when you look at him, it's like he even looks like him, for crying out loud. But the size, all those type of things, his pocket mobility, he's got a presence in the pocket that reminds me of Tom. And by the way, his arm talent's not great. It's going to have to improve, just like Tom Brady's did. Oh, by the way, he's so accurate, especially on the inside. He puts the ball right on the chin, allows his receivers to run with it, and he protects his receivers. The guy's amazing. And yeah, he's a little different than Brady. He's more athletic than Tom. He can run better. But to me, I just think as soon as I saw this kid, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is Tom Brady. We'll see if he has half the success. If you're a Bengal fan, you hope he does.
Yeah, Joe Burrow's a stud. I mean, everything that you want at the quarterback position, the most important stuff, he does really well. But let's try to find a flaw. Let's look at the tape and say, what could he get better at? Because you're taking him #1 for a reason, right? It's not to be good. It's not to be really good. It's to be great. I would say 2 things. One, and this is part of the conversation he had with Peyton Manning. The NFL windows are smaller, and they're going to close faster. And so he does not have dominant arm strength. I, for one, am somebody who thinks arm strength is vastly overrated, but the reality is everything moves faster in the NFL. So the challenge for him is how quickly he adjusts to that. He is great with changing the tempo of the ball and with his anticipation. So I believe it'll be a seamless transition, but that'll be something he has to work on. And then at LSU, he gave his guys a lot of chances downfield, opportunity balls where it's good coverage, and he just goes, I'm going to trust my guy better than the other guy. And that doesn't happen a ton in the NFL till you get dudes. So that'll be something, 2 areas of focus point that I'm going to pay attention to with Joe Burrow.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.